This was a movie that I wanted to review last year, but I just didn't have the time. But here to make up for that time. A Nightmare on Elm Street came out in 1984, was written and directed by the recently passed Wes Craven, and basically is about this killer named Freddy Krueger who kills children while they're asleep in their dreams. And basically in this movie he goes after 4 teenagers, and the teenagers either try to stay alive or try to go into the dreams and stop Freddy in general. I don't think this movie really needs any explanation. It's one of the most iconic slasher movies of the 80s, and probably the most unique of its kind back then, at least in my opinion. Everyone loves it, everyone talks about it to this day, and yeah, it's really fantastic. Like, the opening sequence of this movie, I think, is fantastic. You don't know what's happening. You see this girl, Tina, running around in a boiler room, terrified. You don't know what she's running from. You hear this voice in the background. You don't know what's going on. And then you find out she was just dreaming, but her nightgown's been slashed. So that really, if that doesn't hook you into this movie, I don't know what does. It literally wastes no time setting up. It puts you right in the middle of the story, and it leaves you invested in what's gonna happen next. What goes on in those dreams? What's this mysterious man? And this is the thing that makes it stick out from other movies back then, like Halloween or Friday the 13th, is that basically in those movies, you're in the real world, those killers are in the real world, you can easily outrun them. But in Nightmare on Elm Street, the main killer of the movie, Freddy Krueger, kills you in your sleep, where you are absolutely helpless. And the dream sequences are very simple but effective. In the other movies, they get more outlandish and stupid. But here, it's really effective, and it feels almost like a normal dream someone would have, or a nightmare. And there are many points in the movie where you aren't sure if the characters are asleep or not. And that leads to some terrifying moments when you don't know what's going on. And one thing it does do is that it sets up Tina to be the main character of the movie. She's the first person we see. It mainly follows her and her friends trying to help her. But then at the 17-minute mark, she's killed by Freddy Krueger, which might have been a shock to people seeing this for the first time, even though the tagline of the movie does say, if Nancy doesn't wake up screaming, she won't wake up at all. But they do set up Tina to be the main character, that when she does get killed at the 17-minute mark, it is kind of a shocker, and it's a horrifying death, I gotta say. She's slashed brutally on the stomach, she's floating around the air. It's kind of horrifying to watch. Out of all the deaths in this film, this is the first one with Tina just really gets under my skin. It's often hard to watch, honestly, because she's screaming in terror. Her friends can't do anything about it. They're too confused to know what's going on. It's brutal, horrifying, and very well done, I gotta say. So your main character of the movie is Nancy, played by Heather Langenkamp, and she does a good job in the movie. I mean, she's mostly good. There are a few parts where she's a little flat in terms of her acting, but overall, I think she's good. And she manages to hold her own as a character. After Tina dies, she's the one that tries to take charge. Like, her boyfriend, played by Johnny Depp, tries to help her out and try and stop Freddy Krueger, even though the adults won't believe it. It's one of those things like in a Spielberg situation where the kids are more capable than the adults. And it's kind of frustrating to watch her trying to convince many of the adults, especially her dad, who's the sheriff, that Freddy Krueger is real, and the only way that he kills people is in the dreams. Now let's talk about Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger is played by Robert Englund, and we all know him as a kind of jokey slasher. I mean, he's iconic. The burnt face, the hat, the gloves with the knives on them, the sweater. Like, you can show a picture of Freddy Krueger to anyone who's not seen any of the movies, and they'll say, oh yeah, that's Freddy Krueger. Like, he is absolutely iconic. And in this movie, he's actually a lot more scary than he is funny. I mean, there are some funny moments like, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. And then the phone has a Freddy Krueger mouth and the tongue just does this. Like, that is funny, but most of the time, Freddy Krueger is scary. Like, some of the things that just horrify me are, like, before Tina's about to die, when she's in the dream, there's Freddy Krueger in silhouette, and his arms are just so long. It's like the Slender Man. And you're just like, that's unnerving. And Freddy Krueger's the most unique killer of all. Like I mentioned, this is a guy who kills you in your dreams, and if you die in the dream, you die in real life, which makes him a little more unique than Michael Myers or Jason. And then there's also the fact that Freddy Krueger has an actual face, a voice, and he has a personality that would get goofier as the movies went on. But that's one of the things that makes him, I think, the best slasher villain of the 80s over Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. So it is a really great movie overall, but it does have some flaws, honestly. I think it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, but I gotta be honest and point out the stuff that doesn't work. One of them is Johnny Depp. This was Johnny Depp's first role before he went on to be a really great actor and a joke, and now hopefully a really great actor again with Black Mass. But here, he's the weakest actor in the bunch. But, I mean, it's his first time. We all know he would, like, mature as an actor and get a lot better. It's still cool to see Johnny Depp in his first role and realize that Jack Sparrow got killed by Freddy Krueger at one point. And it is funny to see, like, really popular actors, like, just be in these slasher movies before they became famous. Like, you had Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, and you had Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th. The ending sucks. It's not a very good ending. Like, the finale with Nancy going after Freddy and basically her defeating Freddy is pretty fun and intense. But the very end of the movie, basically what happens is everything's fine. Like, Nancy's mother is alive, her friends are alive, her boyfriend's alive, and she gets into a car with her friends, but the hood comes down, and it's basically has a mind of its own. The hood is striped like Freddy's vest, and the car drives away, and Nancy and her friends are terrified. And then Freddy's glove comes out of the door where her mother is and drags her mother through the window of the door, and it's all like a sequel setup. It's horrible. Apparently Wes Craven didn't like it either, which I don't blame him at all. But, I mean, this is Nightmare on Elm Street. Despite those gripes, this is really one of the best horror movies of the 80s and of all time, I think. It's scary, it's well made, it introduced one of the most iconic slashers of all time, and really gave a unique twist on the horror movie genre. It's great music. Get off your ass and see it right now. It's really one of the greatest horror movies of the 80s, and I can't praise it enough, despite a horrible ending and not so good Johnny Depp. And that's my review for the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends. Don't forget to check out my official website, therealmrrobinson.com. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Periscope. And this is The Real Mr. Robinson telling you, there is only one.